The part of you that is tired, and I don't mean just take a nap tired, I mean physically, emotionally drained from family dysfunction and drama. That part of you that has been holding your family together is tired. If you clicked on this video, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Deep down, you know that this applies to you. You probably grew up in a family dynamic where love was conditional and boundaries were not respected. You were probably taught that being the good daughter meant that you would be in favor and that you needed to maintain loyalty above all else. Speaking up is disrespectful and saying no is selfish. But here's something that no one tells us, especially daughters of emotionally unavailable, narcissistic, abusive family dynamics. You are allowed to emotionally detach. But the first time you do it, it does feel very scary. It feels very foreign, very unfamiliar, and it can make us feel so crippled by that fear that we don't actually take that first step that we need to. And I want to talk about that today. So I heard this quote. It's actually not a quote. It's a lyric from Doechii, and I'm paraphrasing, but essentially she said something about, if you haven't suffered, you can't tell me ish. And this topic feels so similar to that notion, that idea that if you haven't truly fully understood what it means to grow up in dysfunctional or toxic family systems or dynamics, or you haven't been exposed to the emotional blackmail and the guilt and shame that ensues, you really can't fully grasp the weight of that. And this isn't to say my trauma is worse than your trauma. It's just to really hold space and acknowledge the impact that these family systems have on growing human beings and our souls. However, we are not just trying to survive these next chapters of our lives. We are actually trying to thrive. And overcoming family systems like this, the impact that they've had on our minds and our bodies is really mental. It's really a mind game and an internal shift that we need to take in order to unlock these new levels of growth, especially to overcome the self-sabotage that comes in that phase where you're trying to detach and change the narratives and become a different version of yourself. And the first step to do this is to challenge old programs, because the part of you that has been programmed to believe that fear and shame is what should keep you locked in, that's a part of ourselves that we're going to have to challenge in order to overcome and become different versions of ourselves. And if we don't, that's the part of us that's going to keep us stuck. We'll feel like it's safe and familiar to be in those old patterns, and we won't stretch as far as we need to. So we want to identify the narratives, the stories, the programmings, the things we have on repeat that constantly tell us that it is not a good idea to stand up for ourselves, that it is not okay for you to have a boundary or to separate, and the guilt that you feel when you're isolated or triangulated once you try to, that's what typically keeps us going back. Not every person has these programmings, right? So you're going to need to find out what your personal story is every time you decide to implement a boundary, to say no. How selfish do you feel when you take time for yourself? How uncomfortable do you feel when there are conflicts within your family systems? The next step is to reparent yourself. Now, this is very abstract. It feels almost foreign, the idea of doing it, but it's something that we tend to do more easily than we realize and give ourselves credit for. It's things like resting without guilt, the narratives or conversations that you have when you do something you don't want to, something you're not supposed to do. It's how you challenge your own thoughts and emotions that arise when you feel you should be doing something different than what you're currently doing. So let's say you grew up in a household where you didn't go get fast food. You guys didn't eat out as often as maybe your peers did or people around you. And for whatever reasons, could be that you didn't have the money to. It could just also be that your parents felt like you had food at home and it would be wasteful to go out and eat. So as an adult, reparenting yourself looks like, let's say you want McDonald's, you want a fast food restaurant, and It doesn't have to be a cooked meal. It could be fast food, right? But the idea is that instead of shaming yourself and saying, I shouldn't have that because I have food at home, you say, I'm going to buy myself X, Y, and Z because I just want to. Reparenting yourself can be as simple as taking the time to create art when your family didn't value art. They didn't value that side of you, that creative side of yourself. It could be buying yourself hair products, body products, skincare products that typically would not be considered normal in your family for cultural reasons, race reasons, maybe where you grew up, that's not the kind of products we use. You get what I'm saying? It's going to be individual to you, but reparenting yourself impacts so many areas of your life. It's not just going to be the way we talk to ourselves, not shaming yourself for being upset, not shaming yourself for feeling depressed, feeling down. It can be something as simple as you go to the gym and your family, you didn't prioritize health, you didn't prioritize physical movement, but you do now. It could be not eating meat if your family didn't do that. It's engaging with yourself as an adult in a way that potentially you wished your parents did when you were younger. It's exploring the sides of yourself that want to think differently than you did when you were growing up. It could be reinvigorating, re-inviting that childlike side of yourself that is used to being snuffed out, sabotaged, suppressed, oppressed. The next step is to practice this in safe environments. You are not going to watch this video and then it's going to click and you're going to go have conversations with your toxic families immediately because of these things. That is unrealistic. However, we can practice in safe environments. I have clients that when they describe the environments that they're in, they believe that that is the absolute universal truth for them. But when we dive deeper, we recognize that the impact that their toxic family dynamics have on them is typically in that environment. It's typically at home. It's not with other people. Now, this doesn't mean that the thoughts that they have, the criticisms don't come out in other environments, but who they're hearing it from is typically in those intimate environments, which means we do have at least one other environment that is not riddled with the criticisms or negativity of those environments. So you have the ability to practice safer communication, expressing your emotions in a safe environment that is not at home. So it could be the place where you have your hobbies. It could be at the grocery store. It could be at a doctor's office. It could be at school, in class, where you're communicating your true feelings, the way that you want to be heard, respected, boundaries with people who actually acknowledge them and value them. We're trying to use the compounding effect. So every little step that we take is closer to the future version of ourselves that shows up automatically as the person we're trying to be now. It gets easier over time. The next step would be to implement it with family. Now, this is scary and it is understandably hard to even fathom at this point, especially if you're in the early stages of this. And I remember for myself, the first time that I went no contact with certain members of my core family, it was devastating. It was difficult. But I thought about the version of me that I am now, the version of me that does not feel the same fear that younger versions of Alana felt. I could not be this person if I didn't have the courage to first take that first step, to acknowledge that my mental health and the way that I felt about myself was too tightly linked to that dysfunction. And if I wanted to be this free version of myself, something had to change. And asking them to do it was not possible because conversations were not amicable. There wasn't conflict resolution skills floating around in the air in those environments. So I was talking to myself. And there comes a point in your life where you have to decide, is it worth it? What do you want? Who do you want to be? And it's not to dismiss the impact that another person can have on your life. It's how valuable do you believe your life is? And for me, my life was more valuable. It was more valuable. My dreams, I didn't want them to just be thoughts in the background, endless vision boards that one day I would achieve. I wanted them to be in my here and now. I wanted to grasp them, hold them, feel them, experience them. And I couldn't get there if I wasn't courageous enough to let go of family, let go of criticisms, let go of what I thought people would think. The truth is, for most of us, you are going to be that first person, that cycle breaker, the person who is willing to take that first step, and no one will be with you. But who you find on the other side of that are people who are more in alignment with the version of you you desire to be, the part of you that you're suppressing right now. They see her, they understand her, and more importantly, they want to connect and protect her. The people I have met on this side of my journey have filled my heart with so much warmth, and I love them. And when I speak to my clients, something that really makes me feel safe is knowing that I truly have a desire to help someone else experience this feeling. I want you to maximize your life. I want you to get every bit of joy out of your life. And I know it's possible. This video obviously won't solve all of your problems. I would be lying if I said it did, because healing takes time, it takes structure, and it takes support. And if you're anything like the woman that I work with in my family wound recovery blueprint, this feels like the ultimate betrayal. Even thinking about separating yourself, having a boundary, doing something for yourself, it floods you with so much guilt. It's crippling. Like you're being dramatic or abandoning your family, your core values. And that guilt is not by accident. That is programmed in and reinforced endlessly through conflict and dysfunction. The Family Wound Recovery Blueprint is the step-by-step framework, the exact one that I use myself in order to overcome this exact feeling and fears. And if you're ready to take that next step, if you feel called to, I would absolutely love to take that walk with you. So the wait list is open right now, and the first 15 women to sign up, we're having a special one-on-one, face-to-face, intimate call where we can just connect and really dive into and personalize the experience. The spots will go fast, so if you feel aligned, then please do so, and I can't wait to see you there. If you made it to this far in the video, as always, I love you. It takes so much courage to even entertain ideas that feel very foreign to our safe, dysfunctional bodies. The idea of being that version of yourself that's ready for change is just so incredibly beautiful. And I think back to old versions of myself that were not ready, that were scared, that wanted more but didn't know the right direction and who she should talk to and what she should say and how it would look. I didn't even know I was in dysfunction. So if you're watching this, know that I completely understand. And I wish you so much joy and love and peace on your journey. And as always, thank you for taking the time to be with me. And I'll see you in the next one.